Alright, my ninjas, how does your boy feel about young Chipp stats? Let's start here. Start with his normals. 5K still feels really strong. 5P feels about the same. 2P feels about the same. 2P actually has more range than it's had probably ever. Feels even further than his crouching kick, which is quite interesting. Far slash feels about the same. Crouching slash, brand new normal. It does feel kind of good. A little bit slower than the older version, but not bad. Has pretty good reach. It is not a low, unfortunately. Crouching heavy, really cool new animation. It does anti-air, and I say that was a long sigh for a reason. But it's not necessarily a terrible normal. It does what it's supposed to do. It's definitely a lot slower than it was in previous games, so not bad. 6P. This normal honestly made me kind of sad. Doesn't seem strong as anti-air anymore. It's good grounded to plow through normals like the old games, but it's kind of disappointing when you can't do anything off of it. 6P doesn't go into anything but special moves. This is very, very much so concerning for me because it has one more thing about it that's kind of unfortunate. It is no longer jump cancelable. Man, that sucks. All these things I mentioned are pretty bad. However, the one good thing about it, since it is special move cancelable, it does still combo into Rekkas or Resho Rokusai. The only downside to that is that's the only real thing it combos into without meter. Otherwise, you can get Rush Super Bankai Mesai. It does hit. I think Zanziroga can connect, but it has to be counter hit. Most of that move is just based around counter hitting, and that's really bad for Chipp because that's one of his lifeline normals. Like, that's easily one of his best normal moves, hands down, in the history of Guilty Gear. He's always had strong anti-airs and good anti-ground, normals, especially with that one in particular. Right now, it's not looking really hot, and I really hope that ArcSys takes a look at that. Jump kick is a whole new move, which seems to be probably his best air-to-air. Instead of it being a kick that acts arch downwards, like first hit hits high, second hit kind of arch you downwards. This was okay. It is air dash cancelable. Everyone does have an air dash cancelable type move. That's one of Chipp's. Chipp actually has two, which is jump kick and jump slash. Jump kick, like I said, it's okay. It's not the worst. I think it's just a new thing to learn how to utilize, so it's not necessarily bad. It's kind of a welcomed addition, honestly, because it helps him with his combos. Jump punch is about the same. I'd say the hitbox on it might be a little bit smaller. His jumping slash being like the way it used to be instead of it lobbing up, like having a little pop up. I kind of like this version. I feel more akin to the older games, and I do like that. I am accustomed to the way it was in Xrd, but I'm okay with it going back to the way it is in older games, and it's cool. It's cool by me. Jump heavy slash, nothing to talk about there. It's still the same. Nothing is really different about it. It's been the same pizza cutter move it's been in for years. But the one button, and I know there's probably going to be a lot of people who are watching this who don't like Chipp, will be probably happy to hear this one. Chipp's jumping dust is not good in this game at all. It is pretty bad. For starters, the move is a lot slower. It's probably somewhere around 8 frames, maybe even 7. It doesn't feel 6 frames anymore at all. It definitely has a little extra startup. And while that's kind of manageable and you can kind of deal with that, I think the biggest problem I have is on counter hit, it doesn't give tumble anymore. It doesn't give you that. Grounded, so air to ground. If Chipp jumps at you with jump dust, it won't tumble you on counter hit. It doesn't knock down on normal hit. It doesn't give you any of that. And that's if you're grounded. If you're in airborne, yeah, it does knock down. It is a part of his knockdown tools, but counter hit, if you're air to air and he counter hits you, it will tumble. But the tumble's so short and Chipp can't land to do anything. In fact, it's reminiscent of Xrd Sign 1.0, where Chipp had the same issue. Now granted, all the other stuff I mentioned before he could do, with the exception of counter hit. So if he counter hit you with it and you're airborne with him, if you're underneath him and he does it, it will cause a ground tumble, but you couldn't follow up. Like, it was like next to impossible. Chipp had to be absolutely low to the ground in order to get that, and they fixed that in the following patch, and it remains as good as it should have been. I think this move being bad is really awful because it doesn't allow Chipp to. It doesn't really give Chipp much. Now, I feel like part of the reasoning for that is they wanted to kind of test out and see how it would be without it, because New Era K Alpha Blade does kind of replace that, but it's slow. It has startup, and that's a whole nother ball game in itself. So it feels like the design philosophy behind Chipp was like to make him a little bit more tame when he's jumping at you, and I think that's fine and all, but right now as it stands, the way this current build is, a lot of characters are getting way more than he does in this regard from leaving the ground, because anti-airing is really hard. And I would assume, once again, going back to K Alpha Blade is good to bait the anti-air because it does cause ground bounce. I think if they're going to do anything for his counter hit jump dust is to make it ground bounce. Kind of how it was in Guilty Gear Slash. In fact, exactly how it was in Guilty Gear Slash. Before the ground tumble and ground slides in the previous games, it was in Guilty Gear Slash, it was ground bounce. So I think counter hit ground bounce would be okay to compensate for what it is now. If they change the properties back to what it used to be, it would be phenomenal for him, because before it was a really good move, but if you instant blocked it or he did the move kind of high up, like if you hit your character on top of their head, like Chipp is punishable actually. Especially if you instant block it. If you instant blocked it, he got punished pretty heavily. But of course, as a good Chipp player, will know how to use that move good. So I understand it's somewhat of a frustrating normal to deal with, but you have to understand it's one of his best moves, and he kind of needs that. If K Alpha Blade is the replacement, like aerial K Alpha Blade, if that's the replacement, then I think that's fine too, but I think at the same time, it's kind of a tall order to have that move replace that, because it does have a lot of startup. It can bait the anti-airs, which is great, but people can just jump at it and try to swing at him, or just avoid it altogether and let him recover. Similar to what it was in the previous game. So in Xrd Sign, Revelator, he can wall climb and then do wall alpha and dive downward, and it was very, very much so punishable. And this move doesn't feel it feels a little bit better, it feels a little bit safer, but it's still not, for the stuff that's happening in that beta, that's like, week one nonsense that won't really last long in the meta, He does have Air Shuriken to help kind of compensate for that too, but when you put all these things in conjunction, I can understand where from that design philosophy on his attack, I understand how that could, on paper, seem strong, but it's not. From what I experienced, it doesn't feel as threatening, because now you can just challenge him when he's in the air. It's like, well, counter hit jump dust doesn't give him anything, and I don't care. Why should I care that he can do this? So that's a big spiel on jump dust and other things. I didn't mention sweep, but sweep's the same. Nothing new there, if I didn't mention that already. Moving forward, his special moves. So obviously you hear me talk about K Alpha Blade. K Alpha Blade airing ground is probably the best tool he has. K Alpha on the ground leads to combos. It's like basically his new movement option. Since they replaced his teleports, Alpha Blade, has pretty much become his new thing. They made K Alpha be this like new attack that pretty much replaces ShinKensou. So in Xrd, he has 4 Rekkas, Retro Rokusai, mid-low, and then the overhead kick, and then he had the lunge kick. So this is essentially that move, just not attached to the Retro, tree. It's not bad. It's really good. It's pretty quick. I do think that they should readjust the juggle state for it, to where it keeps them in the air a little bit longer and allows Chipp to like land. Granted, there are a lot of combos out there that people have shown on Twitter, but the issue with it is it's kind of inconsistent. A lot of those combos require run momentum, so if Chipp's running at you, then he'll be able to connect certain parts of it. Otherwise, if you're not running and you're just frame trapping, you go for it, you're not going to be close enough. That's a big issue. Chipp's combos pretty much require run momentum currently in this build, specifically surrounding K Alpha Blade, which is good and bad. It will be good because if 6P was better, then this wouldn't be a problem, because then he can 6P, go into it, and boom, and go from there. But that's not the case. K Alpha is just good. It is very good. I'm not gonna front. Part of the issues with Jump Dust also is that it's attached to throw, and sometimes in combos you want to use instant air dash, or air dash, Jump Dust into whatever you need to go into, and sometimes you may or may not accidentally hold forward longer than you need to in order to get to that move, and you get throw on accident. That happened to me so much in the beta, and I really think they should readjust throw input to being like slash heavy slash, more akin to Blaze Blue. I think with that being said, I think one of the problems that I think Arceus is afraid of is running into option selecting, and basically having one input for throw and having players figure out other ways to cover multiple tech throw situations and keep themselves safe. I truthfully don't think that's going to be a problem. If they do input throws like that, that will be a lot better, because at least you're using 2 button inputs to mitigate having a single button input that will activate throw just because you're holding an extra direction. Some players do that. I will not sit here and say like I've never done it. Other people have done it. Some people I know that play Chipp have complained about it. So it's not unheard of. Or if not, just go back to the way throws used to be, with heavy slash, and that's that. This new input with forward dust and back dust is just not. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good at all. Guilty Gear has always had an air throw system where the player underneath the other player will have priority on the throw. Now it's not even close. It's more like you have to be more air to air. You need to be more side by side in order for it to throw, and it's not. While it still kind of functions the same way and it can grab normals like it does previously, it's still not. I still don't think it's very good. Anti-airing seems to be more along the lines of like using uppercuts, and if your character has a good 6P, you get 6P, but it just seems more you should just air to air or just uppercut if you have a good anti-air. If you have a good reversal, excuse me. So it could be a super, it could be an uppercut, it could be whatever. Just as long as you have some kind of invul, it seems to be like the better move currently, because air throw just doesn't feel. 60 is just not where it's at. Sorry, Arceus, I don't agree with that change. P Alpha Blade seems virtually useless. Alpha Blade's always just kind of been it's not the best move, it's not the worst move, It's not something that you have to. It's not something that you need to rely on as a Chipp player, but it has its uses, and it has a lot of uses. Now, granted, they're very situational. Some of them are for combos, some of them are for mix-up, some of them are for movement. This game, it doesn't feel like grounded or airborne Alpha Blade. Doesn't feel very useful. Sure, it crosses up, but it doesn't. It still doesn't feel like it's something amazing. It doesn't feel like I need to use this tool, because if they block it, I'm going to get punished anyway. And not to mention they got rid of Alpha Plus, which is his follow-up on the ground. In addition to that, since he can't jump cancel 5H, it's like, alright, you took away all my jump cancels, so what am I supposed to do here? I can't jump cancel 6H, I can't jump cancel 5H. I can't jump cancel 6P. I did three normal, I can't jump cancel, so I can't even get into Tiger Knee Alpha Blade combos. So it's like, oh, I forgot to mention, that if you Gatling into 5H, so running close slash far slash 5H, 5H doesn't even combo into Alpha Blade. So it's like, Art says, what is my boy supposed to do here? Like, what is this move? Am I just supposed to use this just for mix-up alone? Because when I have 25, when I have 50 meter, you know, when Chipp has 50 meter, yeah, it can become a little bit more dangerous. But it's like, Alpha not comboing to any capacity because it's too slow is like, well, what is the point of this? I think what will be really neat for this move is if they made it where it cancels into, you can go P and then K record. I keep saying record, I mean Alpha Blade. So P Alpha Blade, K Alpha Blade, if you were able to do that, that would help make, one, he'd look a lot more cooler doing it. Two, it would give him more of a use for the P Alpha Blade to be a normal thing in his combos without meter, because one thing for sure is a lot of the other characters were doing a lot of damage without having to spend. Now granted, Chipp's always had to spend for his combos too, but like Alpha Blade, this could be the time where Alpha Blade could become the move for Chipp, like the go-to for his bread and butters, instead of relying on the Rekkas like all the time. It's fine that he could do, it would be fine if he could do both, but I feel for a new game, it'd be cool to finally give Alpha Blade that utility it like deserves. They always buff it in every game. They buff it to whatever capacity to make players use it more often, but like it's still, the uses are very, very peculiar and very, very specific. So in this case, a lot of those specific uses are gone, so it'd be good now if we can just get that and do more with it. In the air, it's the exact same. Like, what is this for? Like, what is the purpose? Like, this doesn't give me anything. You know, even for movement, it doesn't feel as good. You know, to like Alpha RC and then fly across the screen and try to close the gap, or maybe just run away. It doesn't feel good to use it in that regard because of the way the new RC system works. It doesn't feel like, because now things cost 50 meter, using it for those utilities isn't there because the meter is so precious now. Even though they throw meter at you, right? It's still precious, and you don't always want to just give away the 50 meter lickety split. Granted, you could go for it, and if you land the hit, you get the wall break, you'll get the meter gain, you know, the little meter gain buff, which is fantastic. But generally speaking, you're not always going to be in that situation for that to happen, and a plethora of other things I can mention. So I would really hope that they reevaluate Alpha Blade P. Like, they need to readjust its usage big time. His Rekka series, Retro series is fine. There's like nothing wrong with that. I do feel like the recovery on the first Retro feels kind of a little extra. Maybe they added like a couple extra frames of recovery. So it doesn't. I'm not sure if it's like -2 or -1 anymore. Kind of okay, because I understand they want players to be able to move around, but like that helps them maintain pressure, so it's more or less okay. The second Rekka feels a lot safer, which is nice. The overhead kick is still whatever. It's in counter hit state on recovery because reasons. Let's just kill Chipp. That's always been it. Like, Chipp must die. I can understand being in counter hit state while the move's active, but when he's recovered, full counter hit state, yeah, nah. There's some things where he should be in counter hit state, but that move, of all moves, maybe they're looking at it from a standpoint where in this game, since you get ground bounce off of it and you can potentially get combos off of it, maybe they're looking at it at that standpoint where it's like, well, he gets the combo off of it, so let's put him in counter hit state. He already dies like that. He doesn't deserve to die any harder by being in counter hit state. I'm sorry, Arceus. That's gotta go. So that character's quality of life is going to be bad, especially if the damage stays like this. Leaf Throw seems fine. Every game, they consistently buff that command grab. His command grab is actually amazing this time around. Like, I feel this is probably the other good move in his kit right now. It leads to great damage. I do have to say I'm going to be a little bit on the Me Too train, but I feel like his command grab should have done a little bit more damage, because right now we got everyone doing command grabs that are just like snatching life bars, you know. We all seen the damage with Wild Throw, Pop Buster, you know, May overhead kiss. It's like, even Axel's clothesline does mad damage. Meanwhile, Chipp hitting you with leaf throw, doing good damage. While it's good damage, you know, I feel like where his damage is at is kind of where everyone else should be. Not including Potemkin and Soul to some degree, because I understand Soul design philosophy big time. They definitely don't want that dude to suck this time. Yeah, it'd be nice to see Chipp's leaf throw do maybe a little bit more damage, just to make the risk worth it, because it's seemingly like, while it's a really good command grab, like I've been hit out of startup, and normally Chipp's airborne pretty quickly off of that move when it starts up. I've been hit out of it before even getting off the ground. So it's like, alright Arxis, let's readjust that, maybe up the damage a little bit. The RC combos that you get from it are phenomenal. That's great. I love that portion of it. His combos after the leaf throw have always been awesome. You know, they always do good damage, so I'd like it maybe this time around if the leaf throw was actually got a little bit more damage out of it. The hard knockdown situation is nice, but it doesn't give him anything this time around. So that's why I feel like the damage output from it should be a little bit more. My way of adjusting it was literally just give him maybe like a 3 to 4% increase on damage and give him a knockdown that he can actually mix up off of like old Chipp. And I think that would be sufficient. Gamma. Gamma. I think the new Gamma is really, really cool. I think it's a really cool move. Do I think he needs it? I think it would be cool if they gave him another. Maybe he could have Gamma and Gamma EX. You know, where like the current Gamma, it could stay. Maybe be a little bit faster on startup. A little bit. It's still plus, which is nice. I would probably make the hitbox on the clone elbow. I want that to be extended a bit further, and pretty much, honestly, just make the clone a hitbox in general. Because the thing about it is, it activates the elbow when it gets close to the opponent, but it has to be like right up on them. I think if they made it activate a bit earlier, that'd be nice. Like, as they get within proximity, like, he slides in with it, you know? Because right now, the way it stands, using it as a meaty on people's wake up to stop them from pressing buttons, that ain't happening. Uppercut, wake up super, my boy died off that stuff. I'm like, never again. That happened to me when I played against the CPU. When that happened to me one time, I was like, no, I'm not doing that when we're able to play online. No way. No way in hell I'm going to do this when we're not able to play online. Because this is not cool. So Gamma's use, like right now, is good because it can be, you can string into it, which is so badass. Like, he hasn't been able to string into his Gamma Blade since Guilty Gear X. You know, that's the last game they let him just string into it. You know, and they changed the input to make it a fireball input versus half circle forward, making Chipp even easier. I'm okay with that. But current Gamma, I think Gamma Clone and Gamma Hold would be interesting. So you basically get the best of both worlds. Beta Blade, same. Nothing's really changed about that. Just that every uppercut in the game is in counter state on recovery, so that's pretty much it. It has the recovery of the gods, just like Soul. And I'm like, okay, Arxis, look, we gotta talk about this. While I'm a big fan and a big perpetuant of like uppercut people, I think while I agree with that, I definitely think that we should readjust the landing recovery on all uppercuts, including Chipp, unfortunately. But fortunately, to make it more in line, because I do understand the notion of, well, they're in counter hit state, they should have good recovery, but at that point, if you're gonna go that far to try to kill uppercut, I don't see the purpose of the way it is currently. In fact, just to be upfront, I think that uppercuts are not too strong in Guilty Gear. Like, even then, I feel like they were trying to take the route of Street Fighter and try to say, alright, we're gonna make uppercuts more punishable. They were already punishable enough. Like, they were already punishable enough. There was nothing that needed to change in that regard. So them being in counter hit state when they land, I guess. But why change the recovery? It's because you made the damage high? Well, the simple answer to that is reduce the damage and leave it the way it was. There's no reason. Again, one of those situations where it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no reason for this. I'm sorry. Just do away with it. Go back to the way it used to be. If it stays the way it is now, then I think that's going to suck for a lot of people because a lot of uppercuts have crazy pushback. So, yeah, not necessarily the best look. For some reason or other, I feel like his supers just don't do any damage. Like, Zanzeiroga's damage output just does not feel very good, even though you can combo into it so much more easier now, but it doesn't feel... It looks cool, it just doesn't kill, it doesn't hurt. Like, everyone else I've seen, they were doing their supers, and they were just... I did raw Zanzeiroga against Soul, and only did maybe like, I don't know, maybe 30%. May does Up Dolphin Super and like snatches a whole life bar off of Soul. Like 80% or some nonsense. And I'm like, okay, hold on now. Who was sitting here in the board meeting and decided that this was okay? Hold on now. Alright, it's beta. I'll let you make it on that one. But come on now. We gotta talk about this damage arc, sis, okay? We gotta talk about this. Let's talk about what he's missing. Chipp is missing jump cancels. Chipp is missing teleports. I will be the first to say that I do think that Chipp should have his teleports in this game. Would I be okay without them? Definitely. That doesn't really... I don't think that really would phase me personally. But I think that removing his teleports is partially removing the identity of Chipp. Like, Chipp is known as a speedster character that has the ability to be anywhere on the screen at any given point in time. Part of his game plan has always been, movement and external movement options outside of just running and walking, and triple jumping. One thing that's already been adjusted in the game that I don't think anyone's really talked about is running momentum jumps only carry true after one jump. Any jump after the first jump with any character, run momentum is killed completely and it turns into a normal jump. That is across the board. This isn't just a Chipp thing. This is across the board. And that actually hurts Chipp, like, drastically. To some people, they don't really see why. But keeping the run momentum allows Chipp to see the opponent. It allows Chipp to move the screen with him. It allows the players to literally make the screen your oyster. Like, this is your world. You do what you want, within reason, right? But removing that really sucks. And removing the teleports also sucks. It's not teleports, they have their uses. And yes, it's part of the trickery portion of Chipp, but also, again, it's part of that character's identity. And as I mentioned before in my previous video, one thing to note is that the identity of each character is still there, but pulling away certain tools kind of takes away the identity. And I think that there's not really much to compensate for it. After playing finally for myself, K-Alpha Blade's really nice, but it doesn't truly replace teleport at all. It really hurts his... It hurts neutral. It hurts his whiff punish game. It hurts his punish game. It hurts it hurts everything. It's not. I feel like the approach that they took with him was more like akin to Yosuke from Persona, and it's like a mishmash. It's still Chipp, 100%. It's still Chipp, but I feel like there's a little bit of Yosuke in there. I'd love to see that come back. Same thing with Faultless Defense Cancel Jump Drill Kick. So Jump 2K, which I'll talk about right now. So Jump 2K is really good this time around. It's a nice little dive kick now. It was good before, it's good now. The removal of the Faultless Defense Cancel version, I think, is not good. And in regards to that, I think everyone right now, there was a tech that was going around where everyone can do air dash, Faultless Defense Cancel, break their air dash to do similar mix-ups like Chipp. I don't really like that. I think that is not good because you're literally giving everyone something that was unique to Chipp and Faust. Faust also has a Jump 2K type deal. Really useful for its mix-ups and all kinds of stuff. Removing that from both those characters, and specifically in this case Chipp, you're giving everyone else what Chipp had the ability to do. And even though Chipp can do it just like everyone else, it slowly makes everyone else closer to Chipp. I'm not a big fan of that. Personally, would like to see that kind of gone. Because while it opens up some more doors for other people, and also people will probably be upset at me saying this, but I understand that it helps give your character new mix-ups and stuff like that. But I feel like they could do that by giving more to the kit, as opposed to universally giving people a dash break off of their air dash. So with that, that's pretty much how I feel about Chipp right now. It's a different direction, I'm okay with it, but I'd like to see them add more. We shouldn't be losing tools, we should be we should be stacking on legacy tools. So those are my thoughts about Chipp. Catch you guys in the next video.